What a week. I think we said something similar last week, didn't we? For the second time, the banking crisis roiling markets seems to have been averted. Crypto prices, meanwhile, have been buoyed. As ever, though, risk remains only just around the corner. And the question, of course, is, what's next? Less than a week after US regulators stepped in to halt a banking crisis there, the Swiss National Bank has just done the same for Europe. It's promised some $50 billion to Switzerland's Credit Suisse. The bank had seemed in trouble after a plunge in its shares on Wednesday. Worries about the impact of that had threatened markets, and that was especially true after the closures of SVB Bank and Signature Bank last weekend and Silvergate Bank before that. All three, of course, were heavily relied on by crypto companies, and Circle's stablecoin USDC had been caught up in that too. It held some of the reserves backing USDC at SVB. Henry Abuchevik told the Daily Forkast that had caused a surge in Bitcoin prices.
A lot of our clients, especially bigger clients, were swapping out of USDC into Bitcoin, primarily because, the spreads on USDC dollar were just so wide. So many just didn't think it economical to off-ramp to dollar, and they took the next best option, which was Bitcoin.
Crypto prices have since been moving higher, with investors betting that monetary policy tightening will now be pared back. As of 11 a.m. Hong Kong time, Bitcoin was trading at $25,600. That's up almost 5% in the last 24 hours and some 28% higher since this time last week. Bitcoin dominance of the market, meanwhile, increased from 36 to 43% this week, according to Matrixport. Some had suggested Bitcoin's resilience was proof that it was being treated as a hedge against inflation, but writing in a Telegram note, Singapore-based crypto options trading firm QCP Capital said, quote, "The resilience of BTC since shows that while it's clear now that BTC is not an inflation hedge, it is certainly a hedge against monetary irresponsibility. Institutions have not been cutting their exposure to Bitcoin as aggressively as some had predicted either. Despite the FTX collapse and the banking crisis, BTC prices are now back where they were in June last year."
I wouldn't put all my eggs in that basket, of course, but I think as long as there's a narrative to hold on to, more people, especially institutional investors, will be willing to at least have some allocation to the asset.
Bitcoin and Ethereum is going to be the big winners out of this, at least from this, just because they've been there the longest, right? And then they have the largest liquidity. And I think you're going to have more investors, especially traditional investors in the US, realizing this.
Ethereum has also been trading higher, although not quite as much as Bitcoin. The world's second largest cryptocurrency by market cap was trading hands at just over $1,700. That's almost 3% higher on the day and more than 19% up for the last 7 days. Ethereum now has a hard target date for its Shanghai hard fork. The move still, of course, needs to be fully voted on, but the blockchain now looks likely to complete the full transition to proof of stake on April the 12th. While crypto prices have found support over the last few days, however, investors are likely still to be treading cautiously. Planned changes to US regulation were further obfuscated on Wednesday. That was after a US Senate Banking Committee member said talks about new rules were still in, quote, the early stages. The US Federal Reserve is, of course, due to announce changes to its interest rates next week. Positive reaction to inflation numbers a few days ago are still feeding into a more dovish narrative, however. Prior to the banking crisis, expectations had been for a 0.5% hike in the US base rate. Now, though, some are predicting just 0.25% increase, and some, in fact, expecting no increase at all. The European Central Bank, however, still moved ahead with a larger increase in its interest rates this week, and that has led some to caution that crypto prices could yet move south.
So if we have some pushback from the Fed, they raise 50 basis points, and we continue to see regional banks in the US either tapping the Fed for help or other bigger banks or collapsing or share prices nosediving, then we're going to see Bitcoin really test the lower bounds of its trading range in the coming month.
All right, that's it for a very busy week in crypto. Do like and subscribe to this video to stay up to date on what's going on in crypto markets. Please let us know what you think about what's happening right now in the comments below or wherever you're watching.